Jake, Osvaldo, Veronica, Wyatt, and myself, West.
What is a quadratic equation? A quadratic equation is an equation that is simplified using this formula. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2. Okay.
Yeah, as you said, you can see the equation on the top right, but how it's used is first you want to find the a, b, and c values, which you use to plug into the quadratic formula. And next you use those values to help you determine where to put them in the formula, so you can kind of like map out what plugs in for what. Like, say b is 15, you know where to put that, and what goes for a and c. And then once those are all plugged in, you can basically just solve the simplest form. And the square root usually keeps simplifying to a smaller number, but it doesn't always.
The reason why it's important is because the quadratic equation can be found when y equals 0 in the equation, and so when that happens, you can square the variables in the most straightforward way possible, without any problems at all. Like with factoring, that problem could happen.
The first step would be putting the equation into the quadratic formula. A equals 2, b equals negative 10, c equals 3. Then you would square negative 10, which equals 100, and next you would multiply negative 4 times 2 times 3, which then equals 24. And lastly, you would multiply 2 times 2, which equals 4. Next, you would subtract 100 minus 24, which equals the square root of 76. Then you would simplify the square root of 76 by factoring it into the square root of 4 times 19. After, you would factor the square root of 4 times 19 into 2 square root of 19, because the square root of 4 can be factored into 2, while the square root of 19 cannot be factored any further. Then you would try and find a common factor of 10, 2, and 4, which is 2, and finally you would divide the three numbers by 2, which ends up with x equals 5, positive or negative, square root of 19 over 2.
And don't forget to sing the quadratic formula song. X equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a.
Thank
you for listening.
Very cool.